Welcome to First Unitarian Church of Orlando. I'm Joan Erwin, a member of this congregation and a facilitator for UU Wellspring, our year-long spiritual deepening program here at 1U. With me in today's worship service are our music director, Aubrey Connelly-Candelario, Allison Issen, Charlotte Kendall, myself, Joan Erwin, Libby Jackson, Wendy Derrow, Kathy Homblette, Marty Haynie, Rose Bieler, and Marianne Horne. All of the speakers are participants in UU Wellspring. We welcome all to join us as we explore our Unitarian Universalist faith, which draws us into a community of justice seekers with a commitment to lifelong spiritual growth and compassionate service to our community. Whoever you are, whoever you love, you are welcome here. You are welcome here regardless of your color, national origin, gender, sexual orientation, age, physical or mental abilities, economic status, or religious background. Families, we are so happy to have you here. When we sing This Little Light of Mine during the service, youth and children are welcome to meet our child care folks in the youth and the youth advisors in the lobby. As a Unitarian Universalist congregation, we are a non-creedal community, and we do not subscribe to a specific set of beliefs. We live by a covenant that encourages ethical behavior, affirms democracy, celebrates the worth of each individual, and unites us in a search for truth and meaning. We welcome you. For more information about our congregation, go to orlandouu.org or email welcometeam@orlandouu.org. We have a special announcement today from the UU Wellspring National Board.
Hello, UU Wellspring congregations. We want to thank you so much for all your dedication to spiritual deepening. And I've brought Carolyn Bierke, who is our chair of UU Wellspring, to bring a message to all of you.
Dear facilitators, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your dedication and modeling, deep listening, supporting all of the participants in the program. Without you, there would be no program. And it's your wonderful, gentle guidance that helps Wellspring to be a success and reach out to so many UUs. Thank you so much.
Thank you, facilitators.
Thank you, facilitators. You're awesome.
Thank you, facilitators.
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 Thank you so much, facilitators.
Thank you, facilitators. It's been wonderful getting to know you.
Oh, shucks. Also, let's have a pizza party next Sunday, May the 29th, after the bridging service. We'll eat pizza, drink soda, have chips, and who knows what other junk food might show up. We hope you can make it next Sunday after service. Today, please be prepared to stay for the annual endowment and congregational meeting directly after this service, or follow directions to join us on Zoom in the weekly e-blast. All other announcements are on slides before or after the service. All have links in the weekly update or on our website. Thanks for being here in person or online today. Let's get started.
Would you please say the words with me as we light the chalice? In the light of truth and in the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing our opening hymn, number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. The words will be projected on the screen.
Today, we welcome to the pulpit 1U members and friends who are participating in UU Wellspring. UU Wellspring is an opportunity to explore your Unitarian Universalist identity and your spiritual life. Participants engage in spiritual practices, talk with spiritual companions outside of the group, and reflect on readings and short videos presented before each session. Often this spiritual opening leads to an appreciation of the beauty within, whether it is named as the divine, the inner wisdom, or perhaps even spirit or God.
Our Words for All Ages is called The Journey of the Birds, and it's inspired by an ancient epic poem, The Conference of the Birds, by a Persian Sufi Muslim writer, Faraduddin Attar. Once upon a time, all the birds in the land decided they needed a leader for their community. A leader, they thought, would make their community stronger. Representatives of all the bird species gathered to discuss finding a leader. A leader will tell us the right things to do, said the robin. Our leader must be wise, said the owl. A leader must believe we each are important, big and small, said the sparrow. I want the leader to be caring, like a friend, said the dove. Yes, the leader should help us share and get along better, said the jay. The leader must make us feel safe, said the hawk. I know where you can find such a leader, said the hoopoe bird. It is the simorg, and it lives far from here. The birds were very excited. They said they were willing to go anywhere to find such a leader. It might be dangerous, said the hoopoe. A few birds looked troubled, but all the birds voted to go and find the simorg. The hoopoe took off, and all the birds followed. They flew at night. They flew in sunshine. Days and days passed. Some birds got tired and left the group. Other birds were filled with doubt. How did they know the simorgh really existed? Only the hoopoe had ever heard of this bird. Some of the doubters dropped out, but others kept flying. One valley was filled with fiery mountains. All the birds were afraid. "I'm too small to make it over that mountain," lamented the sparrow. No, keep flying. We can make it together. We will help you." And they did. The strong flyers helped the weaker flyers. The birds with good vision helped find food for the group. Along the journey, the birds learned how to better respect, share, and care for each other. It seemed that every bird had something special and unique to offer that made the journey easier. Finally, the hoopoe announced, "We are here." The other birds looked around in anticipation. "Where is the simorgh? We don't see it," they cried. "Come, it's over here," said the hoopoe. The birds stood beside Hoopoe and realized they were at the edge of a lake. They looked in and saw their own reflections. Then they understood. The simorgh was not another bird. The simorgh was all of them, and all of them were the simorgh. They remembered that each of them had something good and strong and special inside of them, and that each bird had gifts to bring to the community. They were all that was needed to keep the community strong. They knew now that together they could do anything. Please join me in singing our children and youth to their activities with hymn number 18, "This Little Light of Mine."
I'm Charlotte Kendall, a member of this congregation and of the Caring Circle, sharing some messages that are, to me, both a joy and a concern. This sanctuary hosted a celebration of life for Victoria Goddard yesterday. Enjoy these beautiful flowers in her honor. Celebration of life for former member Barbara Elrod is Tuesday, May 24th, 11 a.m. in Gore Hall. Bill Spoon's memorial service is Saturday, May 28th, 2 p.m. here in the sanctuary. And I truly believe that these are both joys and concerns. These are some Wellspring thoughts for me from the prophet by Khalil Gibran. And a man said, "Speak to us of self-knowledge." And he answered, saying, "Your hearts know in silence the secrets of the days and nights, but your ears thirst for the sound of your heart's knowledge. You would know in words that which you have always known in thought. You would touch your fingers, the naked body of your dreams. And it is well you should. The hidden wellspring of your soul must needs rise and run murmuring to the sea. And the treasure of your infinite depths would be revealed to your eyes. But let there be no scales to weigh your unknown treasure, and seek not the depths of your knowledge with staff or sounding line. For self is a sea, boundless and measureless. Say not, I have found the truth, but rather, I have found a truth. Say not, I have found the path of the soul. Say rather, I have met the soul walking upon my path. For the soul walks upon all paths. The soul walks not upon a line, neither does it grow like a reed. The soul unfolds itself like a lotus of countless petals. Thinking of the loved ones in your life who might need a little help from you, please join me in meditation. Be in peace.
Please join in singing our centering hymn, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place.
We invite you now into the practice of generosity. Your financial support allows the many ministries of First Unitarian Church in Orlando to thrive. You can make an offering online to support the many ministries of this congregation. Simply go to orlandouu.org and click the donate button in the upper right corner, or send a text, or mail a check. You may support this month's Share the Plate partner, the Jewish Family Services, by finding a link to their organization in our weekly newsletter. Please let us know you donated by dropping a line to Gabby, our program assistant.
I'm gonna go off script just for a minute. I was honored to attend the service for Victoria Goddard yesterday, and I was reminded really what a sacred space this is, and I'm glad to share it with all of you this morning. 2 years ago, during our first Wellspring service, I listened to Colin Fox describe his Wellspring experience, and while I don't remember what he said, I remember thinking, I want some of that. I was charmed and intrigued. I thought, well, I'm not sure what exploring my spirituality means, but I am curious. I signed up. So you've heard about Wellspring this morning. UU Wellspring is a 10-month spiritual deepening course for Unitarian Universalists. Group members experience deep listening and spiritual reflection in small groups, inspiring personal and community transformation. Participants read, view, and respond to pre-session assignments that are focused on spiritual topics and UU theology. First, I was intrigued and curious. Now, I was a bit worried. Pre-session assignments. That sounds like homework. This was clearly more than just showing up, which I am really quite good at. Advanced preparation, not so much. Then came, you are encouraged to develop a daily spiritual practice. Yikes. Sticking to a schedule is decidedly not a strength. And what's a spiritual practice anyway? Am I expected to meditate every day or keep a daily journal? I've started at least a dozen journals in the last 30 years, and I have stuck with none of them. What had I gotten myself into? The answer is a year full of unexpected joys and unconditional love, new friends, wonderfully deep connections with caring, interesting, warm, and loving people, most of whom I barely knew before Wellspring, and with whom I now feel a strong bond. I learned so much about the history of Unitarian Universalism and developed a stronger devotion to my chosen faith. My fuzzy theology became a lot clearer, and the readings and discussions on death brought an unexpected sense of peace. And being quiet. For most of my life, I have been busy, either because of circumstances or by choice. Stopping to think seemed either a luxury or an indulgence. So I cherished the scheduled quiet time in our group. Another gift from Wellspring came as I began to struggle with my changing role in my fairly new marriage. As my husband's Parkinson's disease entered a more difficult phase early in the pandemic. The Wellspring sessions provided a safe and supportive environment for those times when my feelings of being overwhelmed surfaced during our regular check-ins. And did I mention the pandemic? Say what you will about Zoom, that regularly scheduled every 2 weeks with my UU Wellspring buddies kept me connected to my beloved community. That community I was aching for during our isolation. I've come to understand that the term spiritual practice can mean so many different things, many of them quite simple, like thoughtful breathing. I have realized that many things in my daily life, things which I now pay more attention to, can be considered spiritual practices. Staring at the lake, watching and feeding the birds, thoughtfully preparing a nutritious meal, sitting quietly with a cat in my lap and listening to her purr, taking a short morning walk with my son and my grandpuppies, remembering to say a short prayer at night, singing in the choir, crocheting a scarf for a friend, stopping to take a few or several mindful breaths as I wait for my now slower moving partner. Wellspring is the spiritual practice, meeting regularly with people who encourage you to look into your soul, to really think about your life. My first time in Wellspring was rich and rewarding, with deep connections to new and old friends and a better understanding of Unitarian Universalism. But I didn't feel like I'd gotten everything I could out of the time. I could do better. What a joy to find out that I could take Wellspring sources again. Remedial Wellspring, I called it. My second year was quite different from the first, a much smaller group and 5 new perspectives on the teachings and questions, the readings. While the assignments and topics were generally the same, it did not seem repetitive. There is so much meaningful material to try to digest. I still haven't finished all the books, read all the assignments, but I have gotten so much out of the time. So finally, here's where I am with Wellspring. I've taken the first course, Sources, twice, and each time I got further into it, and each time I made deep connections with my fellow Wellspringers. I have started recognizing how many things in my life can be thought of as spiritual. And considering how much I have benefited from my 2 rounds of what I call beginning Wellspring, I've made the only logical decision: to take it again. But this time, in collaboration with my first-year compatriot, Wendy Derrow, who told me she preferred the term partner in crime, I'm jumping into the deep end and facilitating. If I have succeeded in piquing your curiosity, please consider joining us on this adventure.
Good morning. My name is Rose Bieler, and I've been a member of First Unitarian Church since 2007. I joined Wellspring Sources program this year because I wanted to spend some time reflecting on my spiritual beliefs. It had been a while since I consciously thought about what I believed and why. The program has allowed me to do that and so much more. It's been a transformative experience, and it has allowed me to remain deeply connected to One U's beloved community. So I chose to participate in Wellspring this year, in part because I'm on sabbatical. I'm a history professor, and I was granted this year to focus on my research and writing. I thought I would have more time to devote to the exploration that I hope to do as a part of the program, and that has indeed been the case. The timing was right. But the timing was also right in ways that I did not anticipate. Last fall, I was in Pennsylvania on a fellowship. Because Wellspring took place online, one of the side effects of COVID, right? I could participate even though I wasn't in Orlando. The serendipity provided a way for me to remain deeply connected to the church. Our biweekly meetings provided a space to grow my relationships with people I know, although maybe not so well, and to create new friendships with people I didn't know before. So the deep listening, caring, and sharing that took place when we met fed my soul. And I was so grateful that Reverend Margoley was a facilitator for our group, because I was on the search committee last year that invested a great deal of energy in finding and calling Reverend Margoley. And when I realized that I was going to be out of town for the first few months of her ministry, I was so disappointed. Sharing space with Reverend Margoley during our gatherings in Wellspring has been a wonderful way to learn to know her as a fellow traveler and as a Unitarian Universalist. Strengthening my bonds then with 1U, while I was far away from home, was one of the unexpected joys of Wellspring. The program has also been transformative in ways that were much more in line with my expectations. In looking at the sources of our Unitarian Universalist beliefs, I did indeed explore my own religious views. I came to a new appreciation of how my Christian past could be integrated into my current ways of making meaning rather than discarded. I realized that I could reframe how I understand the teachings of Jesus and prayer, for example, so that they now resonate with who I am today. I learned so much about our other sources that was new to me, or that came into sharper focus. One of the many rewarding insights I gained was the connection between earth-centered religions and the beauty of nature and my own spiritual practice. For most of my life, I've found solace in nature. My moments of transcendence have often happened in outdoor spaces, while gardening, walking, sitting in green places. And for the 20 plus years that I've lived in this neighborhood, I've taken daily walks around the lakes in downtown Orlando. But those I always considered a part of my exercise routine. During Wellspring, two of our sources came into focus in new ways for me. The first is our first source, that is, the direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to the renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life. And the second is that we draw from earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. So as I learned more about both of these sources, I started to pay attention to nature on my daily morning walks, to really see the life that was being nurtured by the trees, for example, and to watch the squirrels and the birds interacting with one another. I started tapping into the true beauty of the world around me. I soon came to understand that my morning walks are my spiritual practice. They're the daily practice that feeds my soul. And as I've started to note each morning on my walks, the many things for which I'm grateful, joy and an appreciation for beauty have become more regular parts of my days. Wellspring has taught me so much more, but these are just two examples of the growth that I've experienced through the program. For me, joining a small group of fellow travelers to explore our spirituality was exactly what I needed during the past year. For my connections to this beloved community and for the joy and beauty surrounding me, I am grateful.
In the dark, quiet house of my youth, my gently worn King James Bible on my nightstand, my eyes clenched shut, my inner voice quavering a little, I prayed. My evangelical faith told me that all the answers were at the end of a tunnel between me and God, and it was my job to find them. So I pushed fervently into that darkness over and over and over again. Please, please tell me what my life means. But no revelations came. After I drifted away from that faith as a young adult, I tended to still engage in foxhole prayers, insisting that an omnipotent presence fix my life when it was unsatisfactory in the particular way that I preferred. Because at that point, I somehow conceived of a God who was all-powerful, yet pliable enough to allow me to boss them around. Perhaps unsurprisingly, no revelations came there either. About 20 years ago, I became a UU, and I found new ways to connect with my divine. As I pursued this faith that I love so much, I often fed on the immediate gratification of good works, whether in this congregation or standing with the faithful against injustice. The faith that I practice affirmed, but seldom explored deeply my inner being, my heart of hearts, my soul. This past year, I was introduced to Wellspring. I was inspired by the sharing from other Wellspring participants, and I was motivated by a need to go deeper in my own spiritual life. I began the journey with a little trepidation, but a lot of hope, and revelations came. Wellspring Sources, as you have heard, is organized around our 6 sources from which wisdom and spirituality are drawn. And over the past few months, we have delved into the roots of UU faith, considered the world through the lenses of diverse spiritual beliefs, and considered how our faith and belief systems support us. Most importantly, we were invited our own souls to make themselves known. I once heard a Christian minister describe prayer as knocking on an open door. And that was what UU Wellspring felt like to me. I needed only the will and the curiosity to just extend my arm and just touch the door, and bit by bit, there was a yielding. There were no dark tunnels, no fervent pleas, no lonely frustration, but a gradual opening to let in the light. And the Wellspring readings challenged our thoughts on faith, traditions, and life events, but the real beauty of Wellspring is in the discussion and the deep listening among the participants. More than once in a Wellspring session, I began to try to frame my thoughts around a question, and I was surprised in that moment by what came out of my mouth. When I knew I wasn't going to be interrupted or corrected or questioned, when there was no inner urgency to just deliver my message and get on to my next task, that door to my soul kept inching open and allowed, I think, a glimpse of what I had been after ever since those nights on my knees, looking heavenward in the dark. UU Wellspring, in many ways, delivered on the promises of my past faith, and it certainly bound me more closely to my spiritual home in Unitarian Universalism, and it always humbled me and made me deeply grateful for this faith of seeking that we all embrace. So if you have not yet participated in Wellspring, I would invite you to try it and see what comes. Thank you.
Thank you, all of you. We hope that you heard these personal reflections as an invitation for you to join a UU Wellspring group next year. 1U will be offering the first-year program focused on our Unitarian Universalist sources on Thursday evenings, which is where you start if this is your first year. We will also be offering 2 advanced programs for anyone who has already taken UU Wellspring sources. Our online-only advanced program is Deep Questions, which focuses on UU principles. Our primarily in-person advanced program is Sacred Arts, which explores the connection between spirituality and creativity. Finally, we are offering the new, shorter UU Wellspring program, just 6 sessions on Sunday afternoons, January through March. It's called Sacred Earth and focuses on our deep connections with nature using the beautiful book Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. Sign up online using the link in the newsletter or contact Linnea Nelson or any of the speakers today to let them know you are interested. And we can get you information and the sign-up link for you. So once again, please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing our closing hymn, tune 371, with words from 379, 380, and 381. Thankfully, the words will be on the screen.
For our benediction, I share with you a poem by the Sufi poet Hafiz called I Got Kin. Plant so that your own heart will grow. Love so God will think, ah, I got kin in that body. I should start inviting that soul over for coffee and rolls. Sing, because this is a food our starving world needs. Laugh, because that is the purest sound.
Please join me in reading the words to extinguish the chalice. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.